ladies and gentlemen, and friends. A very good morning to all of you. Again, it's my privilege to steer this panel discussion. Before starting the discussion, I would like to give, a few minutes to each of the CEOs here to talk about the theme, the future workforce, skills, technology, and adaptability.
So nice to be here. CMR happens to be also, I'm an alumni of CMR. I completed my product leadership in CMR, the first batch there. It's an honor to be here. Talking about this important topic, which is really centric to India and what we are offering to the globe in terms of technology, the students coming out of universities here, and the ecosystem that we have in India built over last few decades. I think this is well known in IT domain. You all, because it's a very dominant domain, it has been there since early 90s or even before, and has grown very well in India and put India on the global map as a tech industry. But in parallel, there have been quite significant steps, milestones in the areas of engineering, where quite a few early companies which moved to India, like Bosch and few others, which wanted to tap the talent in India early in late 90s or so, and wanted to develop their centers here to build software that goes into these embedded systems, over years has developed very well, nurtured the talent here and brought up quite a lot of engineers. There are about 20,000 in Bosch and another 15,000 in Mercedes. These are big names, but then spreading across the industry in Bangalore, in Chennai, Pune, Hyderabad, also in the north, quite a lot of automotive ecosystem resides in India. The automotive technology that is developed over decades in Europe in terms of powertrain in the former times, ICE engine vehicles, where there was a stringent requirement on emission norms, moving to electric and other powertrains, and similar development in terms of safety and a lot of infotainment. And now what you hear, booming technology in terms of software defined vehicles is all happening in India. These large companies have their extended teams, or a lot of work is outsourced to our Indian companies like Tata Consultancy Service, TCS. KPIT is also a big name in this specific domain. So automotive has evolved as a center of competence in India over the last decades, and the current situation when automotive industry is going through a lot of transformation because of China, what is well known, you all hear in the news about Chinese cars, which have come up with a lot of technology and are quite good now and competing with Europe and American cars, also challenging them in terms of price, plus technology, and the speed with which they bring new technologies in terms of autonomous and electrification. The Europe and US are also looking at India to groom these talent further, to leverage this advantage of having the capability in India. So quite a lot of opportunity in area of automotive. When we look at automotive, it's natural for us to think about mechanical engineering as a core domain, but there's a lot of potential for software engineers. And now with connected cars, software-defined vehicles, also the technology in terms of IT, backend, cloud, the connected cars needs quite a lot of development later. So in terms of DevOps, so name the technology, they are getting into automotive as well. And it is quite easy, available in central place like Bangalore and India, of course, in the larger context. So this is easier to deploy across into the domain as well. Of course, the other industries are quite big, fintech and so on. But as a core technology industry, automotive is quite an opportunity.
Now, I request Agarwal ji to start your opening remarks.
Thank you. I was thinking about the future of workforce. I think it's a very pertinent time because AI is here and affecting everything, and Brahmanand sir also talked about how the vehicle is changing fundamentally, and I think in general transportation and logistics is changing fundamentally. I think with respect to the what's happening with AI, and I think if you look at India's current position, we are, of course, labeled a laggard in the field of AI, and we should accept it with all humility. But I feel like where we are with AI and our workforce, there's a tremendous advantage with the skills that we have developed in the last 20 to 30 years in various areas, whether it is vehicles, whether it is entertainment. You name any particular technology or industry, it has a high number of skilled workforce in India today. And I think each of these industries are looking for transformation, not just, and it can be anything, whether it's fintech or whatever else. And I think we have this unique advantage today that we bring the digital knowledge of how the world operates today. And if each of these areas need to be redefined with AI, then from an AI applications perspective, India can take a massive leap. If we are able to apply design thinking to how the world will operate in the future, I think that's going to define how AI becomes useful to the humanity. And India is another sort of interesting sort of laboratory of ideas because we need to build technology for masses at scale, at lowest cost. And I think in that sense, if we use our constraints as our advantage, you look at, for example, healthcare delivery, right? We talk about telemedicine all the time, but now is the time to really do telemedicine, right? So, and look at our neighboring countries, look at continents like South America, Africa. You leave out just maybe 1 billion people on Earth, and everybody else needs high quality products at lowest price, right? And I think India has an advantage. I think we can do it. So I think I would urge that we create a workforce of the future that is really rooted at the core with the problems of the ground and is able to leverage technology.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Pradhanji, your opening remarks.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm a startup guy. Basically, I differentiate between a startup and business. So I'll talk about the workforce, the people, the students who sees the startup as the next level or next source of employment or next source of career. And being into the startup industry, it's been close to 2 decades now. But I started at the age of 10. And that time I had no clue about workforce or skills. I had no clue. But I don't know why. I was the first from my family in the bloodline in the business. I come from a very middle class family. But I always believed to be a problem solver. At the age of 10, I used to go to the cyber cafes to play video games after schools. And I saw the basic challenge was there was no games that I would like to play. The NFS and the Mario, so the cyber cafes didn't have that. Then I realized that, okay, why didn't you have that? They said, okay, we don't have that, we don't know where to procure. So what I did was, I'm going to solve this problem. I wrote those video games on the floppy disk, and that time there were no PS4s and PS6. So I used to write those games on the floppy disk and sell it to the cyber cafes. I don't know, somewhere 10, 15 rupees or 25 rupees at that point of time. And that solved my problem. He used to give me free of access. Okay, you play as much as you want and you give me this. So I did a trade barter deal with the cyber cafes. And my father wanted me to be a techie, get settled in US like every middle class father. But I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And he got me enrolled in one of the top engineering college. I ran away from the hostel within 6 months. And because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I wanted to do something that was there within me, that I want to do something unique. And came down to Bangalore, I learned, joined a management college, learned skills I don't know why, but my dad used to taunt me every time, hey, you'll realize one day that your friends and colleagues are working in big software companies, doing something great, and you are doing nothing, you'll repent. I said, no, we'll see that later. I think although I have ran away from the engineering college, but I built 970 plus technology applications that is being used globally. And it's all, and I have learned it because to be honest, I learned it from YouTube. I learned it from books. Like luck favors the brave, or God shows you the path. I luckily landed, the tech companies, and for the automotive, I have been in the automotive industry. I led the foundation of digitalization of automotive industry, and that time the automotive industry was in pen and papers and diaries when you used to go buy in cars. So and then we realized, hey, the CEOs or the presidents of the automotive industries, how they would know how what the sales guy is doing at the dealerships. So we thought of building up a lead management system out of that, and starting from where the CEOs or the MDs of the brand could see where is the challenge at the ground level. And so that was what we did, and I think that's where my journey started from into a startup world. Earlier, I was just into wondering about doing all other things, developing my work skills, always ahead to learn something new, curious kid. I sold SIM cards on the streets of Bangalore, standing near the tea shops opposite to the tech companies. That time, India was transitioning from wired internet to wireless internet. Tata Photon had come in that time, I remember. I used to sell that, to the corporates, to the dignitaries, to the top executives who used to come outside. Hey, sir, this is what we have got. And those skills have helped me what I am today. I remember when I moved into a startup, I was pitching, when I was building that solution, I was pitching to the presidents of automotive industry who are 50 years old, who are coming, that CEOs and MDs, they have immense experience, and I'm pitching to them how to improve the business profitability. And those guys were telling me, what's your age? I said, I'm in early 20s. Like, wow. And I remember one day, the president of, he's retired now, his name was Rohit Suri. He was the ex-MD of Jaguar Land Rover. He stood, there were sales directors, the country heads, sitting in the boardroom, and I was pitching him how to improve the profitability of Jaguar Land Rover. And he was telling me, he stood, he just came to my desk and said, shook his hands. Then the sales director was in awe, like he never shakes his hands to anyone. And he gave you his card, that means he's off what you are trying to build. And that's when I realized that yes, it's the skills, it's the learning agility, it's the communication that helps you to achieve what you want to achieve in future. In today's generation, the students that when I meet them, I tell them it's not the degrees can get you shortlisted, but it's your SAI. I call it as SAAI, SAI. So one is your skills, adaptability, and now it's AI literacy will help you determine whether you are relevant for the next decade or not. I think that's where I'm also working on AI, on the latest technologies. I'm learning every day, and I take it to my house or office that this is what I've learned and this is what we need to implement. I have spoken to a few of them today, and I realized, these guys are building this. Can we do this? And it's a learning. It's a communication that they have told us about their ideas, where I took that, this is what I need to build. And that's how I think every student, every one who is young generation, they need to work on these three things that you're learning, you should learn, I think, or else it is going to be very difficult in the future. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Satyajit, you have done very good thing. Financial capital of India is Mumbai, the innovation capital of India is Bengaluru. You are at the right, spot.
Right.
Yeah, now I request Sriramji, opening remarks.
Yeah, I work at the intersection of fintech, supply chain, and technology. One thing that I see probably pertinent to this audience that could be relevant is that there are people who are domain experts. Increasingly, the way AI is evolving, probably a cross-domain expertise is very useful. When we try to hire somebody, people say, I know finance, I know supply chain, I know technology. But who's the one who's going to translate between them and ensure that we have systems in place? That seems to be a big gap that need to be plugged. And this room, the audience from institutions like this, or the students are the ones who can plug that gap. Because increasingly India is becoming the so-called China plus one strategy, right? Globally, that's what everybody talks about, which means supply chains are going to be the future backbone of the country, and this gap is a gap which institutes like this can fill. Students from here, that's one thing. Secondly, my take on this is that in the earlier days, whatever I learned in my college or all of us learned helped us for a 10-year timeline. I think the timeline has reduced. By the time the today's graduates who pass out by 2030, they may have to relearn at least twice what they would have learned in college. So adaptability is the word that's coming across, right? Adapting and being a lifelong learner is the one that's going to take us a long way, is what my take on it.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Vadesh ji.
First of all, thank you for this opportunity to be here. Just a little bit of my career before I address the exact question. I spent about 28 years in the corporate world before starting off on my own. I started off on my own about 8.5 years ago, so about 36 years. I've seen World Wide Web come in, I've seen emails come in, I've seen soft switches come in, I've seen WhatsApp come in. You have seen the kind of change that they brought about. There used to be physical switches. They were all replaced with soft switches in the telecom world. Things kept changing. They have always been changing. Adaptability was always needed. We were never prepared for future. But the time scales that we are talking about, as you rightly pointed out, it's collapsing like anything. I attended quite a few conferences in the past 1 week. I was at NASSCOM People Summit. I was also at GCC Summit. Earlier this week, I was at Agentic AI Summit in Bengaluru. A lot is happening, and Bengaluru is the best place to be in because there is so much of innovation that is happening. I was really surprised by the number of AI engineers that showed up at the Agentic AI Summit. There were about 200 people in the room. And there is an ecosystem, and this was co-sponsored by Grayscale Ventures. And they were supporting founders to go to San Francisco and build their innovation in the agentic AI. The point is, the innovation that happened probably in the last 30 years and what is happening right now, there is significant difference. Earlier, people who were highly knowledgeable were very useful. They came with a lot of skills and well respected. They could do things. Now knowledge is no more a skill, right? It is available in abundance. It is available to everyone. There are LLMs, and you go to ChatGPT. Knowledge is fully democratized. Now, what would help is ability to adopt, ability to learn on an ongoing basis. So people talked about the likes of Eclipse, Visual Studio in the past. Today, people would talk to you about Copilot. They would talk to you about Codex. They would talk to you about the likes of Windsurf and so on. They are becoming the IDEs. Coding per se is no more a skill. So I tell people, coding is taken over by tools, but then you can be an architect, and you can be an architect without having to spend 10 years, without having to spend 15 years. Probably you could be an architect in about 2 to 3 years time frame. There is no room for tech writers anymore. Tech writing skill is fully commoditized. But if you are an information architect, then you have a place. So enterprises are large. I mean, if you really look at, people talked about automotive industry, people talked about healthcare industry, and from AlgoShack we have several Fortune 50 companies as our customers. That produce the likes of MRI, CT, ECG, etc. In those places, code snippets will not solve the problem. What solves the problem is the solution that enterprises that require, that they need. So I think, yes, curriculum could change, will have to change. I'm sure the universities like CMR, they prepare students for ever-changing world. it is not the skill that matters. I think it is the adaptability that matters as we move into next 2 years, next 5 years.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to, give an opening process so that, you can connect very well with the theme. Thank you very much for your opening remarks. Friends, the future workforce is not merely about adapting artificial intelligence or digital technologies. It's about the convergence of human intelligence, technological intelligence, and organizational adaptability. Organizations are increasingly hiring people not only for what they know today, but how quickly they can learn, unlearn, and reinvent themselves. So this is the backdrop, and the future workplace will reward cognitive flexibility, emotional intelligence, data literacy, creativity, ethical decision-making, entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial thinking, continuous learning. With this backdrop, I now request Brahmanand sir, because you have worked with so many people-driven organizations, large people, hiring companies here. The discussion area here is hiring for potential versus hiring for skills. Traditional recruitment focused on qualifications, but today's organizations increasingly recruit for learning agility, problem-solving ability, adaptability, and cultural fit. So my question here to you is, many organizations now say they hire for potential rather than existing skills. Could you share a real hiring experience where someone's learning agility overweighed their technical expertise, and what convinced you to take that decision?
Yeah, I'm still an engineer, sir. I still believe in the fundamentals. Knowledge of fundamentals is very important, which every student goes through in their curriculum. Now, the pressure on students, I'll just address a bit and also come to the hiring part. Pressure on students, what I also heard from professors, also universities, is that right from day one, they are looking at what is the skill I should learn apart from the academics. That's always the pressure, right? Which is a good thing, but on one side. But then what they miss out is the core academics, which they learn from the books, from the professors, from thinking, from that visualization that they are able to do in the first, at least the first 2 years or 3 years of their curriculum. If you look at engineering, then they can really hop on to the technology of AI and so on. Not that they have to be left behind, but what the image is that students focus a lot on these technologies and do not concentrate on the fundamental learning. They miss out on that because that is the time they have to spend on these fundamentals, and that becomes the base and a strong foundation which is in the back of their head, in the mind. And then technologies keep evolving, right? So should I really spend a lot of effort today on AI while I'm still just joining the college? Maybe in 3 years it is completely transformed. We have no idea, right? The way it is today, AI, it will transform and evolve a lot. So the tools that I use today will be gone by then. So this is one view that I hear always from universities, and this is an advice that they give to students. While, of course, it's very important to constantly look at certification, look at parallel learning, doing something on own, that's very important. But when it comes to hiring, yes, it has changed a lot. The resumes are no more heavy with so many buzzwords of tools, technologies. I know this coding standard, that coding standard. It's okay, it's the past, it's done. What is important when hiring is, what's my experience? How I have evolved over years with evolving technology? How did I adapt in terms of evolving technology or the roles or the functions? Like sir said, that we need multiple disciplines as you grow up in the career. But even in interviews nowadays, it's not about what they remember, what they know, because that's available handy with the ChatGPT. But a problem statement is given to them. They have to go back, come prepared, because there's nothing like information is democratized. It's all available. But how are they putting it together, and what is the value add they are bringing on top of it? That is observed, rather than asking questions like in the past. In my early career, I was very much worried about C language. I should know everything, otherwise I will fail in the interview. I have to understand it deeply. So that has changed a lot in interview. And like we also heard, communication skills, so on, are very important. While the fundamental knowledge that is coming from academics is the base for that.
Thank you, sir. My question to you, because you are talking about a lot of AI and also gaming, and students are very much excited to do, participate in gaming activities because that gives us learning experience, experiential learning. So in this backdrop, I would like to request you, as a AI, as a co-worker, okay, the AI will not replace every job, but people who know how to work with AI will replace those who don't. Okay, so my question is, if AI becomes every employee's digital colleague, what ultimately or uniquely human capabilities do you believe will become even more valuable over the next decade?
Well, AI is what I believe is AI is not going to replace the jobs. I mean, not replace the you guys or the people or the young professionals. AI is not going to do that. AI is basically going to be the collaborator. It's the human who will assist, who will come up with that critical thinking that what prompt should I give, then the AI will give you the better results. It's not. It has to be the enabler. It has to be the driver on what goals you want to achieve. And AI is. And I think today's. Everywhere there is one question like, okay, am I going to have the AI? Am I going to learn AI to get a job, or is it going to be available for 10 years, 15 years, and I'm going to retire with that? No. Technology is changing faster than careers. It's every month you need to learn something new. Today we are talking AI. I don't know about after 10, 15 years. When I was a kid, I had never heard a concept of AI. I was only heard of supercomputers. And that time India didn't have any supercomputers. And we thought, okay, we'll develop our sales skills, our educations, degrees. Those were what was taught to us. But now we're talking about AI. Yes, it is important. It is going to, it is going to be the key for the next decade. But yes, it is going to also evolve. It is going to change. Now we are talking about robotics. Now we are talking about so other things in the AI. But tomorrow there are the other languages that would come in. It will be evolved. Tomorrow it's like we are talking. It's the human who will be assisting the robots to do what we are trying to do. In terms of your home, already we have those where we have robotic vacuum cleaners to robotic even we at healthcare. What we have is we have trying to develop something that can diagnose through the AI. But that will not replace the doctors, but that will help the doctors to give a right clinical outcome. So if today's date, if someone is talking to me, hey, if the doctors and hospitals is going to replace with AI, no. Doctors and hospitals are not going to get replaced. AI will help them to give a right clinical outcome and with the right precise outcome. And they have to give the right decisions, prompts, basically to give them right results. I think that is what I wanted to say, that the students should keep on learning every month, every day. It's the three things. If the graduates of today, I would say, is one is the communication skills is of course required, because it's not the idea that matters, is the communicated idea does. Second is the critical thinking, because it's the human who gives a better results, who give a better prompts, get a better results. And of course is the learning agility, that every month, every day you should keep on learning the new things that might take up the next, you should be way ahead than your peers, all those learnings.
Yeah. Thank you, Satyajit ji. Now my question to Agarwal ji. About lifelong employability. Since you have been working for the industry for more than 30 years, the concept is shifting from job security to career security to skill security. So my question to you is, in a world where job roles may change every 3 to 5 years, how should young professionals think about building long-term employability rather than preparing for a single career?
I think if I reflect on my own career, I think what has worked for me is, I think in one of my first jobs, I took up a job of implementing software in America. And I did not know it then, but those first 3-4 years of my career, I learned a lot about how businesses thought about technology, how they wanted to get any benefit out of, and these were at that time off-the-shelf systems like HR, financial, ERP systems. And that learning I found transferable throughout my career. And it stood out as a differentiator from the crowd. And I used this ability to understand customer needs throughout my career to handle different jobs at different levels, building different teams, getting them to understand customers, to build better products, to build products that actually met customer needs. So I think what I'm trying to say here is that the idea of transferable skill is very real, right? And whether it is with AI or any future technology, that thing will never go away, because at the end of the day, the economy, the jobs, they're all about serving a human need, human desire, right? And whatever, for example, we have done in the kitchen with respect to all the different devices, we want more. We want better dishes. We want 3-course meal. We want 5-course meal, right? So human desire has no end. I think in this area, in this question of security, I think it rests fundamentally on human desire. A long time ago, I used to watch a serial called Queen. I think it was based on the monarch family in Britain. And I used to see that in 1930s and 1940s, they used to get fantastic cars on demand whenever they wanted to go somewhere. We still haven't reached that level, right? That's just one area of human desire. Are we getting 7-course meals for every meal? No. We're hardly getting 1 course, 2 course, right? So I think if we map out our lives in a very sustainable, ethical ways, and also meet this goal of human desire, there's never going to be any dearth of jobs. I think that's my fundamental belief. And AI will help, for example, reduce cost of production, right? Make it easier to research new technologies. What better can we ask for? It's a beautiful age to be.
Vadesh sir, about the micro credentials and micro skills, like companies increasingly value certifications, projects, and alongside internships, the portfolios, hackathons. So in this backdrop, my question to you, do you foresee a time when a candidate's portfolio of real-world projects carries greater weight than the university degree itself? What evidences are you already seeing?
I mean, I have always been seeing evidences all through my career.
Yeah, that's right.
But let me give you some anecdotal experiences from my entrepreneurial journey. So when we started back in 2018, in January, that's when we got incorporated. So when we wanted to hire people, obviously, I had to bend the cost equation. I could not throw, money at a problem. I had to initially hire people who were just out of college, people who were back at home after their maternity leave, people who were teaching, because I couldn't afford the kind of money, that the people from the industry otherwise would ask for. So when we hired people, we looked for people who would come with resilience, who would come with design thinking, because we didn't know exactly how we would build AlgoQA. AlgoQA is our platform that produces scripts, low code, no code. So not only now, even in 2018, it produced scripts on its own. We leveraged machine learning. We went to even colleges like PES to build our initial use cases. So people who didn't say, I wanted to code only in Java, people who were flexible to do it in Java or C# or in those days. That's what we looked for, because we didn't even have a design in mind. We didn't even have a tech stack in mind. So those are the kind of people that actually helped build AlgoQ today. And today there are people who have spent 8.5 years in the company, and they have grown to be architects, and they manage the product in production. So this is a holistic skill set. It's not about just coding in Java. Now, if I look at it now, right now, machine learning then and machine learning 2 years ago, machine learning now have changed. 2 years ago, it was all about generative AI. Can you give a prompt? Can you give text and convert that into script? Fine, but today, right now, people are asking, do you have agents? Do you have agents that will review? Do you have agents that can upload the code to Git? Do you have agents that can validate? Do you have agents that will perform action? No one wants now suggestions. They want actionable insights, and they want someone to act on it. And these skills people didn't have. They had to learn on an ongoing basis how to build an agent, on an ongoing basis how to, build generative AI. For example, we are now talking about, those days where we said no to an IDE. Initially we said, let's not build something for an IDE. And IDE was then Eclipse. IDE was then Visual Studio. We said no to it because they were all desktop based, and we wanted to build something on the cloud. But now I can't say no to IDE, because now IDE is Codex, IDE is Cloud Code, IDE is open code. So, and the team is continuing to learn on the job. Whatever they need to do, they have to get that done. No one even will specify as to which course to learn. You have Udemy. That's what we refer to at best, if that answers your question.
Actually, earlier, all back-end jobs are now coming from front-end, and back-end is replaced by technology. Absolutely. So new age technologies are driving like anything. Yeah. As I said, even low-code, no-code is just, drop down and make it, a program. Yes. Even no computer science student is required for developing a program with no-code and low-code and developing the apps.
Yeah, you need domain knowledge. Yeah. You need to understand the user's perspective. You need to be a leader, right, to solve problems.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I think those skills will never be replaced.
I think even today's date, websites can be developed in 15-20 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Okay. Now, question to gentleman. Sir, the relevance of human skills, because technological skills everybody is talking about, but you need to talk about the relevance of human skills. Like technical skills become obsolete, because every 3 years, 5 years, it becomes obsolete. But human skills appreciate over time. So my question to you is, looking back over your own leadership journey, which human capability has become more valuable every decade despite technological disruptions?
Okay,
I'm sorry, asking you.
It's an interesting question. So I still feel adaptability is the main skill, and willingness or being a lifelong learner, right? So, and I experienced it in my career. The only subject I ever failed in my life was in computers, in Pilani, and I hated it. Okay, but life has its own way. I'm a chemical engineer. Then I got a job. They said, okay, we are implementing this SAP system. Since you're young from college, we want you to be there. I said, come on, give me a break. I left the job, came to IIM Bangalore. I got selected in Xerox for the CFO's office. Same problem again. They said, okay, we're implementing SAP. We want you to lead this project from UK. I said, what's happening? Then eventually SAP picked me up for a job and they put me in charge of this banking. That's when we never had this low code, no code then. I realized it's not going to leave me. We created a code generator way back in 2000. That's when we did. And we rolled it out to few and it eventually got shot down by one of these top 3 consulting agencies, because in the year Y2K, a lot of people were put on people, jobs, everything were moving. And if you get a code generator here, it's going to eat a lot of jobs. So what I'm trying to tell here is that I found a way not to write the code by doing a code generator, because I didn't like writing the code. That was my way out of it. Then eventually what happened was I moved very in my career. I did a banking job, or banking software development, where I learned it was totally new. I had no finance background. I had the opportunity to work and write papers with Dr. Raghuram Rajan, who was our governor. We predicted the subprime crisis way back in 2006. That was a joint paper we wrote. Not that we knew much more, but it was logical. When you studied it, it was very clear. If I take a 5 rupee bottle, and actually by the time I reach end of that, if the 5 rupee becomes 50 rupees, it's going to fall down. What I was saying was that I didn't know that subject. It was new to me. I never learned finance, right? But adapted to it. I was thrown that job, right? So the only thing that helped me during these days was, come on, this too shall pass, and I will do. I know I can learn and do it. I think that's one thing that kept me pushing back, and that I feel has got me here. Even in Arteria, as a company, although we are 17 years old, we sold its assets thrice. This is the 4th time. And all 3 different times, it was 3 different things, and all buyers were all major buyers. So the only thing that kept us moving was, yes, what next, and adapt to what's tomorrow, right? So adaptability, and the fact that, we can, as human beings, we can learn much faster than machines any day, and put a human angle to it, because it's not always logic. If it's logic, you have a computer to code it for you. But there's much beyond logic, like our Bengaluru roads or Indian roads, right? So, it's very pertinent. I was in Ahmedabad yesterday, and it was flooded, right? The driver was just going, I can't see the road. I said, I will never do that in Bangalore. I don't know where you'll have a pothole, correct? You'll never do that. But he was here, he said, no problem, sir, the road is all good. I was worried. Right, so it's just adapting to the situation. I think it teaches us a lot. I think that's the ultimate skill, if you ask me. Keep us grounded and always look for new things.
Thank you, Mr. Sriram.
Hello. In fact, it's the highly thought priority, but we did not see the real fortune that has been, creates jobs. Professor C.K. Conclave's Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid, I think some of you might have read. And as he said, clearly that largest fortune lies at the bottom of the pyramid, right? And that is all about the basic needs, fulfilling the basic needs of the humans. And I did not see anything coming out in that direction. In fact, AI also doesn't have a much bigger intervention yet in that area. And basically, it's all about the very basic needs. So I would like to request any of the panelists who can, address that, how, the workforce will be, redefined by the bottom of the pyramid's demand.
I have a different take on it. I don't know how many of you know this gentleman by name Naval Ravikant, right? So the way I look at it tomorrow or 10 years from now is you can have, and you even today have companies in the Western world which are less than 10 people and $1 billion in value. As India, and there's another book, I'm forgetting the author, A Billion Entrepreneurs, was written by an Indian author, right? I think that's the direction we are heading. If you say we are a workforce-heavy, people-heavy company, rather than saying we'll create wealth at the bottom of the pyramid, we are saying the bottom of the pyramid needs to be entrepreneurs. That's how you move up the ladder. Each individual, gentleman or whoever it is, person, catering to the society, being an entrepreneur.
So I have a very simple question. Nowadays, technology is available for everyone. If we have any question, we can go into the ChatGPT, Google, YouTube. So many things are there. So in this case, since the technology is available for everyone, how do we define the success? Because same technology is available for you, for me. Then how will we define the success of it?
I think I answered this question in today's speak. You need not be. I mean, you need to be the best human to give the best prompts to get the best results. AI will not define your success. Just you have a Chat GPT, just you have a cloud, or just you have Grok. You just and ask it, okay, deliver me this. It will not give you that. You need to have that critical thinking. Okay, what prompt should I give to give me that 10 by 10 result?
Exactly.
Now if I, as a CEO of the company, and I want to build something, I will not say, hey, ChatGPT, go and build me this. It will not build me this. I think most of the people are using AI to make themselves lazy. Okay, hey, I'm tired of emailing. Hey, can you draft me an email? Hey, can you create an image poster? I'm busy. Can I have an event? Can you create a poster? It will create you all blurred image. All your emails, it will tell you all XYZ things. It will come up with its own knowledge. Now, if I as a CEO, I want to write to someone, to the dignitaries of this college, hey, this is what I'm the CEO of this company, I want this. How will AI know it? That what I want to address, with what language I want to put it. So it's my critical thinking as a CEO, who should tell me, hey, you need to think like a CEO of, hi, this is what, and I need this in my email draft. Then the AI delivers the right result for me.
So don't you think it's addictive?
I think the way, just to summarize it, AI is the new operating system. Exactly. Build your applications, build your things on top of it. Just look at it like Google. In Google, I was searching. Now there's much more than search. It's a new operating system. Use it or don't abuse it. When I say abuse, I am only using it to do unwanted things, to become lazy. That's what I call abuse. Use it in the sense you need to be able to use the tool to get the best out of it.
Thank all the CEOs who are present here. Now we are extremely happy that we were able to get the wisdom of so many of professionals who have achieved great success in life and also in their business ventures. Time is very, very important. Sparing so much of your valuable time is very precious to us. And thank you again for that. The panelists, I can't describe them. They have deliberated on various issues pertaining to AI, adaptability, workforce, and so many issues, though the time was very, very short, I don't think the time was sufficient for them to dwell on that in greater detail. But each one of them have done an excellent job. They've been able to give a lot of inputs to us. Some of us, like me, were totally unaware of what is going to be the future. AI has come, what will happen. No, that thought is there in the common man's mind. The way they explained issues, the way they explained and I was very happy when one of the panelists mentioned, now it is AI, after 10 years what happens, who knows. So we should adopt to whatever changes that come. How we get ourselves adopted is very important. So very, very meaningful discussion we had, and each one of the panelists were doing have succeeded in their life in such a big manner, and they are models for all of us. And I am sure CMR University will take their guidance, support, and assistance to educate our students, to make our faculty more adaptable. And their inputs were of great value, I think I'm sure they would have recorded the whole proceedings, and the VC might think of bringing it in the form of a book also. Actually, as far as AI is concerned, I'm totally till now, I'm an ignorant person. But the confidence that I got after listening to the panelists is something. No, it's okay. I can get into the YouTubes and get into some basic information that's available, and consult my various professors here. I can also improve my understanding of the AI and all that. So much education has come in this 1 or 2 hours of time. I once again, on behalf of the entire management, I would like to personally congratulate and thank not only the panelists, but all the other CEOs who have come all the way to this campus. I'm sure you would have gone around the campus, the facilities. As my son always tells, this is a startup for us. Though we are 25 years old in the education sector, but still, we treat this as a startup, and we want to get ideas from all angles and to see that it grows into a very, very successful unit. We need your support, cooperation, so that it will be easy for us to take care of the issues that crop up from time to time. The most important thing is this: the conclave is not a competitive conference. It is a collaborative meeting, where we think of the future of the industry, future of technology, future of students. This gives us tremendous inputs and direction to go ahead. And the conclave is only a beginning, and our relationship and our association should be everlasting. Thank you all, and wish you all the best.